After yet another frustrating loss Thursday night in Atlanta, it is clear that the Cincinnati Reds can never leave a game in the hands of an umpire.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name's Stephen Offenbaker. His name's Jeff Carr, and we are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We are lifelong baseball fans. We love the Reds. We love baseball, and we love talking Reds baseball with you. On today's show, while the results have not been good, the management of the bullpen has been good. A little bit later in the show, we're going to get into Tito and his usage of the Reds bullpen. We're also going to talk about Rece Hinds. Mentioned it yesterday. We're going to get into it deep today. It's time to just let Rece Hinds cook. We'll tell you what that looks like coming up in a little bit. And where we are going to start today, Jeff, you hit it at the beginning there. The Cincinnati Reds are not good enough to let a game come down to a single close play. They are not good enough to let a play come down to the umpires being able to decide the outcome of the game. We're going to get into that in just a second on today's show that is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. This episode is brought to you by those good folks over at Amazon. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. All right, Jeff. The umpires. Tito got his first ejection. He took Calgo with him for good measure. Sounded like John Sadak might get thrown out of the booth if the umpires could have heard him. Everybody was upset about the umpiring. Nobody was wrong except the umpires.
No, nobody was wrong except the umpires. And quite frankly, that wasn't what lost them the game, but that was just added frustration on top of this. It's clear that if there's ever going to be a play that is close, that is the deciding factor in a game, that's on the Reds for leaving that game up to that play, and you cannot expect the umpires to make the right call. Hear me out on this. The letter of the law of obstruction means a player, a defending fielding player, blocks a plate or blocks a base. They drop their knee down, make it so that the base runner does not have a clear path to slide into second base. That happened. Ozzie Albies blocked second base. I'm all kerfuffled. I keep calling it plate. Second base, so that Blake Dunn could not slide in and steal. He was clearly out, but obstruction should have been called, and Blake Dunn should have been safe. But for whatever reason, with replay review, you can't review obstruction. You can only argue it with the umpires, and if they think that there's obstruction, then they'd call it. It's really weird. And everybody's like, well, in and of itself, in a vacuum, that's not that weird because the Reds never get obstruction called. But let's take it back to Tuesday because, Wednesday. Was it Tuesday? No, it was Tuesday. Tuesday, because Tyler Callahan makes an amazing sliding catch into the wall, breaks his arm, and the hand that he now cannot feel drops the ball out. And the umpires say, well, according to the letter of the law, that's not a catch because he couldn't voluntarily transfer the ball from his glove to his throwing hand. Okay, letter of the law got the Reds. Well, then on Thursday, the letter of the law doesn't help the Reds, even though it should have. It's very dumb that that's where we are with this whole rule calling thing.
Well, as a person that is blocked on social media by the umpires union, I can say that I have had a long relationship of bashing these umpires. They're not held accountable. They are not forced to perform at a high standard. When they don't perform at a high standard, there are no consequences at all. Major League Baseball doesn't hold them responsible for what they do and goes to great lengths to hide their errors and hide from public view how bad they are at times and kind of just caters to them. And it drives me crazy. But where we started with this is that the Reds simply aren't good enough to allow themselves to be in this situation. This series with the Braves, Jeff, is just been infuriating. This is the beginning of the stretch of schedule where we said they need to finish it at about 500. They had every opportunity to get out of Atlanta with a split at minimum and really should have won 3 games. Should have
Yep.
won 3 of the 4 games in Atlanta. And they Cincinnati redded their way right out of it and ended up losing 3 of the games. And they can't do this. They are not the Los Angeles Dodgers. They are not the San Diego Padres. They can't expect to just make it up later. They don't have that in them. They're not built that way. They have to win the games they can win right now. And nobody is playing with any sense of urgency. Everybody's going to look at a camera and tell you, it's early. It's a long year. We've got plenty of time. No, you don't. You don't have plenty of time. You're going to play yourself right out of contention and not be able to make up the ground. The time to win is now.
They needed Graham Ashcraft to come out and pitch a good 9th inning. He walked the first guy that he saw. And then there were some hits, and they gave up the lead very quickly. The play in which the Braves tied the game, I thought was just going to lead to the very next play, having them win the game in the bottom of the 9th because of how Gavin Lux approached that play, where the ball is in left field. Gavin Lux thinks he can throw out the runner at home plate. He can't. I'm sorry. Like, if he has that throw 100 times, he makes that throw 1 time. There's just no reason for Gavin Lux to try to throw home there. He is a second baseman playing left field. He needs to hit the cutoff man. Because he tried to throw home, because he didn't hit the cutoff man, Michael Harris turned a single into a triple. And you had the winning run 90 feet from home plate with 1 out in the inning. Credit to Graham Ashcraft for buckling down and getting the final 2 outs and not giving up the loss at that point, but he already given up the win. And so we're looking at a bunch of different situations that set them up. The Reds also were horrible with runners in scoring position in this game. There was a perfect opportunity with the bases loaded in the 7th inning, and you had Matt McClain up and Ellie De La Cruz up, and there was only 1 out. Matt McClain and Ellie De La Cruz both strike out. Like, put the ball in play. This team is striking out too much. This team is making mental errors too much. I'm with you. The sense of urgency is not readily accessible right now. Like, I'm trying to find it. I'm just not seeing it. And as much as I do think that Tito is making some good decisions, and we will talk about that later on in the show, the playing the baseball game the right way has not really set in yet.
No, and there's a lot that I would have been willing to overlook and kind of just say, well, let's see how the next series goes with the Astros if they had got out of Atlanta with a split, because already allowing for the fact that they had 1 game that got away from them that they should have won. All 3 of these games that they lost could have won. They could have won.
And this is coming off a series that they lose to the Nationals, and it just feels like it's starting to build a little bit on the net.
Right. It's frustrating because this team does that Cincinnati thing. We've seen this from the Bengals for a lot of years, where they just kind of play right at the level of their opponent. Playing the Nationals, play kind of like them, and you lose the series. Playing the Braves, play kind of like them, and you lose the series. Then you go to places like Los Angeles, and they win those series. It makes no sense to me. So, I don't know what Tito can do. I mean, he can't go field the ground balls. He can't go. Right. I mean, at this point, even if he was like super old school and was like, listen, if you make another bonehead play, I'm going to bench you. Who the hell else is he going to play? There's nobody else to play.
That's the other part.
Outfielders. There's no extra infielders because they're all playing outfield. What is Tito supposed to do? I don't know how he fixes this with a roster that looks like it was constructed to be the gang that can't shoot straight. I don't know, Jeff.
But it's clear that the margin for error is just not there, and they cannot leave it up to these little plays and these umpire calls that are just going the other way what seems 100% of the time. But I know this, Steve, all of that hilarity overshadowed what otherwise was a very good game for one Rece Hinds, and I believe it is indicative of what more we can expect from him and why his playing time should absolutely jump through the roof. If you're a coffee enthusiast like myself, I drink like way too much coffee every day, firmly admit that, but It's because I love coffee, and I know a good cup of coffee when I see one, and you can get a great cup of coffee with Trade Coffee. They're the #1 coffee destination in the U.S. They do this great thing where they personalize your coffee for you. You take like this quiz where they ask you about taste and smell and what kind of roast that you have and what kind of roast that you prefer and all this other stuff. And they build the best coffee for you. In fact, I got this bag here called Common Voice Heirloom Blend. It's got notes of strawberry and fig and brown sugar, and it's been very tasty. And right now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. That's TRADE.com/LOCKEDONMLB for 50% off your 1-month trial. And make your TV your entertainment hub with a Fire TV stick right now, because on top of your favorite movies and TV shows, you can also play your favorite Xbox video games on Amazon Fire TV sticks. I do this all the time. In fact, I do this with a PlayStation controller. I play Halo on a PlayStation 5 controller because all you have to do is pair a compatible controller with your Fire TV stick, and you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and you can run with your favorite Xbox games, not just the Halo Master Chief Collection, which is a fantastic game, by the way. Nostalgia all around. But you can also play Call of Duty Black Ops 6. You can play some Fortnite on there. You can play all sorts of amazing Xbox games. Starfield as well. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller are required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. If you are not an everydayer of the Locked On Reds podcast, you should become one by hitting that subscribe button right now. And by the way, thank you for always making us your first listen every single day. Always appreciate our everydayers. Down in the chat, make sure you jump into our comments section. A lot of great folks talking ball down there as well. And Steve, I was really happy.
Just a quick note. I'm not always this mad. If you're a brand new everydayer, I'm sorry. I'm not usually this mad all the time, but this Brave series just, my blood is still boiling.
And it's like, it's not like the Braves were the ones that were making the calls, but it's like that was the 4 games that we were watching, so we're not having a very high opinion of the Braves right now. But hey, we got ours against the Braves last year. That's what happens. Anyway, I was really happy for all of like 10 minutes. And this is another thing that the Reds love to do, right? They get you really, really excited, and then they do something else to make you feel dumb for feeling excited. But I was really excited because Rece Hinds had himself a game. He had 2 hits. He also got a walk, but that second hit was the go-ahead 2-run home run in the top of the 9th inning that put the Reds up 4-2. Was a laser beam off of former Red Rece Hinds. I know you love the fact that he did that.
Mr. Horribly Wrong.
But I also think it was how he did this. And I believe that Rece Hinds deserves to be played every day, and there's multiple reasons why. But I want to start with this because this at bat, Rece Hinds, the first 2 pitches that he threw him were sliders that were low and outside the zone. And Rece Hinds looked silly swinging at these pitches. He swung at both of them, and he horribly missed them. They were badly missed. And then the third pitch was a slider. And it looked like maybe Rece Hinds was getting a little cocky because he left it over the plate, but he was probably thinking, guy's gun shy, swung and missed at 2 of these things already. He's going to lay off this. I'm going to get an easy called third strike. Nuh-uh, baby, that thing was a barrel and a half. I think he got 2 barrels for that one swing, the way that he hit this ball. Absolutely beautiful. This is the potential that we're talking about with him, the mammoth power. And if he can add some sort of plate discipline, like I said, drew the walk in the game. He did also have a strikeout too. But if we're talking about a 3 true outcomes type of player, I really want to see that. That's what this game is now. And those guys get paid. Let's see this every day. Let's see what Rece Hinds has. And when he's the guy on the receiving end of those hits into the outfield, his arm's going to gun somebody down.
Yeah, here's the deal. Austin Hays is coming back, in case you didn't hear. Everybody. I'm with you, Jeff. The outfield right now, such as it is, probably Fraley is going on the IL. Austin Hays gets activated. I go I go an outfield of Hayes, Friedel, Hinds. That's what I'm doing. And let's just see. I said yesterday, I want to see if Rece Hinds can figure out the breaking stuff, and that's what the pitchers are going to throw him. So let's see if he can figure it out. He figured it out last night. Now that's an isolated single at bat. Let's see what it looks like over time, but he has to be out there for us to get that read. There's no good reason for anybody else to be playing outfield, really, with those three guys. There might be an argument if you're trying to get Lux's bat in the lineup or whatnot against right-handed pitching. Maybe
that's the only thing that I can really see as a good argument to keep him out of the lineup. But no, Rece Hinds needs to be in this lineup every day because I think his potential, and albeit we know what happened. Yes, he had that great week to begin his career, and then he went like 1 for 30, and he had a ton of strikeouts. But even he admitted, and they talked about this on the broadcast on the radio broadcast today. He admitted before tonight's game, or before Thursday night's game, that when he was called up first last year, his eyes were big, man. He was like, whoa, baby, I finally made it. I'm at the major league level. Let's go. And then after everything calmed down and after he stopped hitting 1 million home runs in 1 week, then he really struggled to catch back up. And now he's like, I'm just taking this one day at a time. I'm glad to be here, and I'm going to prove that I deserve to be here every single day. I think he's in the right mindset of things, and let's see what happens with this.
Yeah, because that power, just the power potential alone is worth having him out there right now. And I mean, really, who else are you going to play out there right now? If it's a choice between Rece Hinds and Blake Dunn, if it's a choice between Rece Hinds and Jacob Hurtubise, Hinds, right? So again, we mentioned Lux, maybe. There's nobody else. That's it. That's it.
And quite frankly, like if anybody else goes down, then you're talking about bringing back Will Benson. So let's do this with Rece Hinds. Let's get him rolling. Let's see what can happen if you say, look, we are going to give you an extended look, because the Reds have set this up to where it's now a possibility. We talked about this in the offseason. We didn't see it happening a whole lot. We weren't sure how it was going to happen. Well, all the injuries is how it's happening because they did not really fix the outfield in the offseason. And now they're just hoping that Rece Hinds can catch fire and be that fix. So let's let it happen. You can't catch fire if you're on the bench. And I think that he showed his potential. If he can be that guy, and he's fast on the base path, so if he does get a walk, he's a threat to steal. And like I mentioned, his arm is a threat in the outfield. The Reds don't have anybody like that right now. Like TJ Friedel is a good range guy. He's not a good arm guy. And Gavin Lux is just out there because we need his bat in the lineup. Mm-hmm. And Spencer Steer, if he plays left field, he's out there because we need his bat in the lineup. Like Rece Hinds has an argument to be the second best, and depending on his range factor, maybe even the first best defensive outfielder on this team.
Yeah, and there's another piece to this. You know, you mentioned your good buddy Will Benson, and the more I look at the outfield construction right now on the major league roster, the more I'm convinced that Will Benson is in the Nick Senzel lane of the Reds are done with him and are just looking for a convenient time to part ways. I really think that's how they're looking. I mean, because they still have the control and can keep him in Louisville, I guess that's a good insurance policy for that emergency one game call up or whatnot, like we saw them use him already. But I don't think there are any more opportunities coming Will Benson's way unless just every single other person is broken.
Yeah, I'm kind of there as well. I mean, when they called up Hurtubise instead of him, honestly, when they called up Hurtubise instead of Hinds, it made me wonder a little bit about Hinds. But I guess they were just going with the lefty because of Tyler Callahan going down. But now it's like if you called up a lefty because of Tyler Callahan going down and it wasn't Will Benson, then Will Benson's in a bad spot. But no, I think that the opportunity is obvious, and the Reds need to give Rece Hinds this opportunity because, quite frankly, the alternative just isn't that attractive.
All right, Jeff, as you and I agree on most things, we may have a little disagreement as we talk about what's coming up here in just a minute, because while the bullpen has had its struggles, it seems like Tito's done a good job of putting players in the right place to be successful. But we're going to take a look at Tito's bullpen usage and how the bullpen has responded to it coming up right after this. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. especially if you're a Knicks fan. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. You can jump in on which players are going to show up in the big moments. You can go as easy as who's going to score the most points. What would it look like if you were able to combine a couple into live prop bets mid-game and see how the action unfolds from there? If you're new to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up, because if you head over to FanDuel.com right now and place your first $5 bet, if it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets back. That's right. If your first $5 bet with FanDuel wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. So head over to FanDuel.com right now and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. If you can't catch us here on YouTube, we are on every single audio podcasting app around. Seriously, if you find one we're not on and you need us to be on it, reach out to Jeff. He will make it happen. And I promise I will be less Stephen A. Smith in this Astro series than I have been in this Braves series. All right, Jeff, let's get into this bullpen a little bit, because we spent a lot of time last week talking about, we were pretty okay with this bullpen. And I even poo-pooed the guys that were identifying it as like the number one need that the Reds needed to fix. And the Reds have now gone out and lost 3 games thanks to the bullpen. So, we did that thing we do, and we forgot to reverse engineer it. But here's what I do know. As bad as the results have been over the last several games, Emilio Pagan's second outing notwithstanding, Tito has had the right guys in the right place at the right time to be successful. In fact, the only time that I really think he got it wrong was his first day as manager of the Reds, when he ran Ian Jabot out there on opening day. But the rest of the time, I think Tito has used this bullpen well, and I think he's used it way better than his predecessor has. I think that had David Bell been running this team last night, we would have seen one of the guys that had pitched multiple days in a row. We would have seen Pagan, or we would have seen Santillan. We would have seen them out there with their arms about to fall off. But he didn't do that. He instead went with the third guy on our list, yours and mine's list. Pagan, not available. Santillan, not available. Graham Ashcraft, cream of the crop, top of the list. He put Graham Ashcraft in the situation he needed to be in and gave him the opportunity to kind of be that guy we want him to be that guy we're hoping he leans into that role. And it did not go well.
No, it wasn't the best of appearances for him in the 9th inning. Ended up giving up the lead really fast. This is something that, looking at this weekend, Steve, and I think that it's difficult, because we noted multiple times last year that David Bell was clearly managing for tomorrow and the next week and the next month, and almost punting the game of today. I think Tito is much better at managing for the future, but still managing for today, because Graham Ashcraft was the right call there. He was the only call there. But then even afterward, where they go to the 10th and they go to the 11th, and there's just so much to this game that it's like, how are you going to continue to pitch guys when Pagan and Santillan have pitched the last 2 straight games? Like, Tito did not jeopardize their seasons for this game. And that is something we saw David Bell do with Alexis Diaz and with Fernando Cruz so many times over the last 2 years, that it was really refreshing to see, because the way that this Reds team has played, just their schedule, I'm not even talking about wins and losses. Like, think about how the schedule has been for them the last 10 days or so. They've had about 75 different rain delays. They've had a couple of games turn into double headers because of weather, and they haven't had an off day. The off days that they had were because of rainouts, so that's not really an off day. So here you are with your bullpen just constantly going, and then your ace goes down on Wednesday. Oh, my days are mixed up. It goes down on Wednesday with an injury, so the bullpen has to cover 6 innings, which is not something it's had to do all season. And so all of this is being had, and I still feel like the Reds bullpen is in an okay position as they head into a weekend series with the Astros, who do have a really good bullpen. got the chance to talk with our friends over at Locked On Astros and kind of preview the series, you should go check out that crossover when you get the chance after the show. But overall, I still feel like Tito has kept them in a much better position than if he just would have been like, you know what, Emilio, you're going out there again, man. We got to have it.
Yep.
Go get it, man.
So let me ask you this, and I didn't prep you for this on purpose. So here we go. When we talked about this as recently as last week, you and I were both in agreement, outfielder first, address the bullpen after if something presents itself. I'm kind of ready to move off that. And here's why. I think they should go out, and I don't need them to go get another closer, but I think this team needs one more A group pitcher that is, not so much the Brent Suters of the world and is more the Tony Santillan's of the world. I think they might need to just go do that. And that's going to cost prospect capital somewhere, but I think that it should happen. Here's why. Hunter Green is down now. It was decent news. As far as the news was going to go, it was decent.
There's been so much happen. We didn't even cover that.
We didn't even talk about it. A grade 1 groin strain. But Tito did say it's going to result in an IL stint and he's going to miss a start or two. So they're going to be bringing up somebody along the lines of Chase Petty to pitch again. Right. And we saw how that went last time. That's going to be more pressure on this bullpen because when Chase Petty comes up here, he's not going to come out and throw 7 scoreless. That's not going to happen. No. So even if he pitches better than he did last time, the bullpen's going to have to cover more innings than it did with Hunter Green in the rotation. I think they need to go get a little bolster to this bullpen. The only thing that I would entertain, and maybe this is your argument because you kind of made it a little bit already on another episode, but is Luis May that guy? Is Luis May that A group pitcher that the Reds need right now? Or is that putting too much pressure on him too quick when the Reds really can't afford to fall any more behind?
I admit that I am too early on this, but I think he is. I saw a little bit more of what I wanted to see from him in Thursday night's ball game because he was called upon to pitch the 10th. And he found himself in a situation where there were runners on first and third because he had just walked a guy. And the next guy up, and you're like, okay, he finally walked a guy. This is the thing that we're worried about. How does he respond? Next guy, ground ball straight to Matt McLain. Matt McLain throws home, gets the lead runner. I think there's something about him that he is able to pitch around his own mistakes, and that is something that this bullpen desperately needs. I still admit that if anybody wants to fight me on it and say, you're too early, I 100% agree with you. I think I'm too early on this, but I got an intuition.
Are you getting challenged to duels in your DMs?
Getting challenged to duels, yeah. No, it feels like it sometimes, but no, but I do think I'm early, but I think that I'm going to be right on this. I think he is going to be an A squad guy. So I don't necessarily think that I am off of the train that outfielder first, then get whatever bullpen help you can get. I still find that to be the way. I wouldn't hate it if they got somebody better, but I don't think they need to get somebody better because I think Luis May is going to fill that role.
Well, time's going to tell, and by the time we figure that part out, it may be too late. That's what I'm worried about. That's my concern.
That's what I'm worried about too.
They have got to win ball games. They're getting ready to head into a 3-game series with the Houston Astros, and then they get an off day. Finally, hopefully the Reds are able to finally get the ship righted a little bit. What is it, since we didn't get to do that crossover, if you want to check out that crossover that Jeff did, jump over to Locked On Astros. Definitely. You can hear it over there.
Put a link
with the last couple minutes there, Jeff, let's just kind of set some reasonable expectations. Houston's very good. I need the Reds to take 2 of 3. They have got to win 2 of 3 right now.
Honestly, from the way that they played this last week, they've put themselves in that corner that they really, I mean, if they come out of Houston with a 1 out of 3, and I get it, they face the White Sox next week and you've really got a chance to get a sweep there, but they're kind of backing themselves into a corner where you almost expect a sweep. And like we say, it's professional baseball. It's really hard to expect another team to just lose 3 straight games to you, as bad as the White Sox are. But ultimately, I'm with you. I think 2 out of 3 is a must. The Astros are in the same position as the Reds are, as the Braves are, that and maybe more so the Braves, where it's like they have a good roster, they've just underperformed because their lineup hasn't performed very well so far this season. they've got some guys like Christian Walker, who they paid a lot of money to. Christian Walker's sitting 205 right now. Michael Harris kind of broke out against the Reds. I really hope Christian Walker's not about to break out against the Reds this weekend, but I'm a little bit worried about that. But the Reds need 2 out of 3. I have a hard time predicting that, though. I think they probably lose 2 out of 3.
Well, we will be back in your feeds live on Monday to talk about how it went. And in the meantime, Tim Daniel will have you covered after each of those games against the Astros with the live postcast right here on the Locked On Reds feed. So make sure you check those out. Until Monday, we will keep gathering up the news, the reports, the rumors, and the information, and we'll pull it all back here to keep you locked on Reds every single day. Challenge you to a duel, like you get like a virtual slap in the face with a glove. How does that work?
You're making me think of Righteous Gemstones. Did you watch that show? That was a great show.
It's a great show.
A fantastic show.
You look a little like John Goodman.
I don't know how to feel about that.